All right, folks, welcome back. Hope everybody's enjoyed the last couple of videos. I've actually put a lot more effort into those than it looks. The weather's been kind of crappy the last couple of days. Like, it was 85 degrees and then all of a sudden it's down in the 50s and it's windy and all that. But, you know, luckily I got plenty of cold weather gear. And just a side note for anybody out there who owns a motorcycle or who is thinking about getting a motorcycle, the best piece of cold weather gear you can possibly own is a neck gaiter. Yeah, don't get one that's skin tight though. Those don't work quite as well. Get one that fits a little bit loose. Any of you veterans out there, you should already have one. But I swear, man, I have a t-shirt, then I have a thermal layer, a wind layer, and then my regular jacket, but this is all mesh anyway. That keeps me pretty warm. My pants are Kevlar lined. They keep me pretty warm. If it gets like below 50, I'll put on some kind of thermal long john type underwear under here. But the neck gaiter, man, if it's under like 60 degrees or even 65, because when you're riding, obviously it gets a lot cooler, the neck gaiter just saves your ass, man, because that cold air hitting your arteries just freezes you. I've seen guys on Harleys riding with no helmet, no neck gaiter, none of that stuff. When it's like 45, 50 degrees, and I just don't get it, man. They got to be freezing. Either that or they just have no nerves left. They have no feeling. But anyway, let's get on to the video. I gotta waste the first 30 seconds just talking about nothing usually, because YouTube doesn't like it if you get too out of control in the beginning of the video. But today, I would like to talk about the large influx of recently divorced guys that's happened in the Manosphere over about the last 2 years. And I've noticed there's a ton of dudes, ton of guys recently divorced, you know, just like Rich Cooper and all the other guys. They read the Rational Male and then they think they get it. Or they read some other kind of self-help books and they think they get it and they think they're qualified to give advice. Now, these are guys that have been simping their entire lives. Probably only been with a couple of women. They don't have a lot of experience with women. Everything they know about women was learned online, because they sure as hell didn't learn it from their ex-wives, because they, you know, they got married. I mean, if you've gotten married in America or Canada in like the last 40 years, you have to be nuts. I don't know how many people I've seen, like, when I joined the Army, I was there for the invasion of Iraq. We weren't even in Iraq for 6 months. I think it was like 3 months in some cases. And guys were already getting Dear John letters. Now, if you're not familiar with that, a Dear John letter is basically a woman sending a letter to her man who's off fighting a war, and she says, I'm leaving you, and I'm gonna take half of your stuff, and when you get home, the house is gonna be empty. And, by the way, there's some guy smashing me out in the bed that you paid for right now. I mean, these women couldn't even wait until the guy got home to break it off. You know, we're fighting a war. We got a lot of things to worry about. And now you get these dudes getting Dear John letters. You don't know what kind of mental state they're in. So not only does that screw them over, but that screws the rest of us over. But the women don't think about that. You know, they don't care. But anyway, the recently divorced guys, I look at them kind of like, if you're familiar with Joe Rogan's podcast, if you've been listening to him for a while, you've heard him talk about McDojos. That's the places where you basically pay to get a black belt. You don't actually get training, or well, you get training, not really, but you don't really get trained, well, you don't get trained at all like you would from a legit place. You basically just pay a couple $1,000s and they guarantee you a black belt within 6 months or a year or whatever. But the people that go to those things, the people that go to those things, a lot of them develop a very unhealthy relationship with their sensei or their master. Which, by the way, if you ever go to take any sort of martial art and the person teaching you wants you to call them master, you need to turn around and leave. Unless, of course, it's Master Ken. I mean, clearly he is the baddest man on the planet. They won't even let him in UFC. That's how bad he is. Like, I mean, he would just kill people, you know? He does death touch and Wang Chung and all that other crazy stuff. Like, he could probably just look at you and kill you. That's a joke, by the way, for any low IQ people. Oh, Master Ken, just sarcastic and he's satire. Yeah, I know that. I know. That was a joke. I know that at some point, a low IQ person will watch this video and they won't get it. But I think a lot of dudes out there who follow these recently divorced guys and get pissed off when you call them out for being grifters, they develop an unhealthy relationship with these guys, even though they don't know them, which is really strange. I mean, you're getting angry and defending someone you don't even know. It's just, well, and the reasoning is a lot of those guys, as I've mentioned before, they were raised by single mothers. They don't, when they make decisions, oh shit, cock, all kinds of cock in my videos, yeah. But when these guys make decisions, they make them based on emotion rather than common sense, reason, and logic, because that's what they've learned from their mothers. And they never had a strong male father figure in their lives. They, maybe not even a father figure, just no strong male figure, period. So when they see these dudes online, they might think, oh, this dude says things I like. He can't be wrong. Everything he says must be true. It's not healthy at all. And then to see them defend these guys, like to see people defending Donovan Sharp, man, that's why I lost all respect for Greg Adams, Terrence Popp, and Hotep. I was hoping those were the last three that I believed in out of that whole group. But then they made that culture of, or whatever it is, the masculine excellence video with Donovan Sharp, and I just lost all respect for the guys. Like, he's a grifter, his wife is old and fat, but you're still defending him and you're still going to share the stage with him. That's just disgusting. But a lot of those guys, like even Greg Adams, how many times have you heard him mention how much money he lost in his divorce? Doesn't that make you a little suspicious? Like, come on, man, you got a CDO, commercial driver's license, you're a personal trainer, real estate license, you got all this stuff. Yeah, why are you complaining about money? You should be balling with all that. But guys find the red pill community, and a lot of them just see dollar signs. And there's a lot of weak-minded guys out there who fall for it. So that whole thing with the McDojos, whenever I think about Joe Rogan saying that, I'm like, that's exactly what these guys do. I mean, they look up to them like father figures, and they freak out the second you say anything like, well, you can make fun of Donovan Sharp, but you can't make fun of Better Bachelor, because he looks like me, he sounds like me, he's a loser just like me. I mean, if you're going to call out the BS, you need to call out all of it. And as far as Joker goes, all I'm going to say about this dude is I watched his channel when he had less subs than me, and in one of his first videos, he said as soon as he gets enough money, he's out. He's going to get in his bus and just take off and drive around America. So between that and listening to him, I'm like, this guy doesn't have the height, the looks, or the personality to get with hot women. But then, of course, if you bring that up, all the guys start whining, oh, you're just making fun of his height. No, I'm not making fun of his height. I'm saying that because of his height, he can't get hot women. Greg Adams, yeah, I can understand. He's buff. He's a pretty good-looking dude. But the rest of these guys, oh, man. But so, the way, other than that McDojo reference, I think the best way that I can describe recently divorced guys, and when I say recently divorced, I'm talking about they've been single less than 5 years. And the same thing goes with guys who've been in long-term relationships. I mean, if you've been dating a girl for 3 years, I'm not going to take any, I'm going to be real suspicious of you for about the next 5 years. Because I see recently divorced guys and the guys that just got out of long-term relationships, just like I see recovering drug addicts. And what the recovering drug addicts tend to do, they tend to relapse. I mentioned this in a previous video, but it needs to be brought up again because the similarities between recovering drug addicts, recently divorced guys, and the whole McDojo thing, it's all pretty much the same. There's probably all the same type of things going on, the same thought process and all that in these guys' heads. But if you had a friend who was a heroin junkie for 5 years and he had been clean for 6 months, are you going to question his judgment, or are you just going to go right along with everything he says? Because I'm going to question his judgment. No matter how sound it might be, I'm going to look at that and be like, you know, I'm going to put more thought into that than I would if it was someone who was never a junkie. And the recently divorced guys and guys that just get out of long-term relationships are the same way. I mean, I've seen guys date a girl for like a year and a half, be completely whipped, and then the girl breaks up with them. Like my buddy Matt that I've talked about before, he came in one day, his girl got him, like when they first met, they were having sex all the time. She was a hoe. She went to my high school, he went to our neighboring high school, but I knew both of them. Her brother was a guy that I grew up with playing sports with and stuff. So I knew all about her. Like even her brother would talk about how she was a hoe. But so she let him smash, I think the night they met. But then a couple months into the relationship, she decided she wanted to get religious and she cut him off. And she said, well, we're not going to have sex again until we get married. Nuts. Nuts. Any guy who would fall for that, like, you got to be crazy. Like, man, we've been smashing 2-3 times a day, and all of a sudden you're telling me you want to wait until marriage because you found Jesus. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. Hell with that, man. I would have broken that off right away. But oddly enough, as soon as she turned 21 and realized she could go out to bars and clubs and stuff, she broke it off with him. I always thought that was hilarious. But, yeah, that dude, the day that he realized it was over, I still remember him. It was either a Friday or a Saturday night. We were chilling at my buddy's house. We had a bunch of beer, a bunch of weed, just having a good old time. And Matt, who hadn't drank or smoked or done anything in months, he comes in, he was like, hey, man, you guys give me a couple 40s. Right there, we're like, yeah, Matt's back. Hell yeah. But that's the same mindset a lot of those guys have. Like, they have those codependency issues. And a lot of that comes from being raised by single moms. I've seen plenty of guys who, they've had a girlfriend ever since high school. Like, they've never not had a girlfriend. It's just crazy. And that's that whole codependency thing, man. Like, they always have to be with somebody. Oh, I went the wrong way. Crap. Oh, well, we'll just make a big circle, or I'll turn around. But I think it's odd that you see all these recently divorced guys and they're all trying to sell something. They're trying to sell a book or a course or whatever. Why do you think that is? And unfortunately, a lot of the guys that have that unhealthy relationship with them, they don't get it. Because they're not capable of even an elementary level of critical thought. No critical thinking, no common sense, no reason, no logic, none of that stuff. It's all just emotion. This guy makes me feel good when he talks, so he can't be wrong about anything. It's not a good way to go about life. I mean, if all these grifters want to talk about feminine energy, you need to talk about the people that watch your videos and worship you like you're some kind of god or whatever. I don't get it. Actually, I do get it. It's just, that's what happens when dudes are raised by single moms and don't have any sort of strong man in their lives to guide them. I mean, my dad was red-pilled. When my parents got divorced, my dad straight up told me, he's like, don't ever get married. And I know people say, well, what, were you born red-pilled? No. I learned, I mean, obviously it wasn't even called the red pill back then. But yeah, my dad let me know a long time ago, you should never get married. And then whenever I was in high school, I started hanging out. I moved about halfway through my freshman year in high school. We moved to a different part of town. And a lot of the people in my new crew of friends happened to be women. I'd say there was about 15 or 16 people, about 5 or 6 of them were women. And I saw them, like, they would go after the typical Chad and Tyrone type guys, and then they would wonder, oh, I had sex with him. I had sex with him on the second date, and how come he doesn't take me seriously? But those girls would teach me how to get girls, not how to make friends. They would teach me how to get girls. They're like, this is what you need to say to get in her pants, that kind of thing. So when I realized that worked, I'm like, man, I'm an all right looking guy, but I'm no Chad. Even with muscles, I'm no Chad. But I was still punching above my weight. And when I saw that, I'm like, man, I don't really have to work for this. I like this. They were giving me advice that actually worked. So I realized most people aren't going to have that experience. But when you get these guys that they've only been with 1 or 2 women their entire lives, and they're recently divorced. Oh, crap. This is probably somebody's driveway. I have no idea where I'm going. But when you get these guys that are recently divorced, oh yeah, I gotta turn around. The only women these dudes know about are the ones that they were married to. That is not experience. Like if you only drove 1 car your entire life, like say you only drove a Honda Civic, and somebody was like, man, that's a really slow car. And you're like, no, you think it's fast. Well, maybe not a Honda Civic, but, oh shit. All right, get off for a minute here. Maybe, I can't even back up. Oh, there we go. Maybe you have something like a Honda Civic Si. Still a slow car. Has the potential to be a fast car, but still a slow car. So that's the only car you ever drove your entire life, and you think it's fast, and then somebody tells you that car is not fast. You know, a crotch rocket's fast. I mean, to me, most cars are slow because I have a really fast crotch rocket. But, you know, just think about that. You only drove 1 car your whole life, and it's okay, but it's not fast. But you think it is because that's all you've ever had. So with these recently divorced guys, especially dudes that have been married like 20 years, guys that won't, and, you know, they'll even admit they've only been with like 1 or 2 women. What the hell are they going to tell you? Don't get married. Like, yeah, oh wow, I couldn't have heard that from anybody else. So be careful, man. That's what I'm trying to say. Be careful who you take advice from. Be very careful who you give your money to. Because a lot of these guys look at the red pill and MGTOW and all this stuff, and all they see is dollar signs. But some of you dudes don't get it. And you get hustled. I think we've learned that with Donovan Sharp. But there's still people who defend him. Oh, it's sad. Anyway, I'm gonna enjoy the rest of the sunlight here. It's not too bad outside. I'm gonna go for a little rip before it gets dark. Anyway, I would appreciate it if you gave me a thumbs up on this video or a thumbs down. Everything helps. Leave a comment, subscribe. If you're already subscribed, make sure you hit that little bell because I'm going to be putting out a lot of videos this summer. A whole lot of videos. But that's about it. Hope everybody enjoyed the video, and I will see you later. Peace.